Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to our Q&A of our Indonesian textile tour. This is going to be in Indonesia. It's going to be 13 days between October 7th and November 8th this year. And I'm sure you've got a lot of questions, and I certainly have a lot of questions. So let me invite into the space Ray and John. So here we go, and here we go. Actually, I've got everybody in the wrong order. I don't know how I managed to do that, but here we go. I'm going to just put John. I'm going to put John in the right spot, and I'm going to put Ray in the right spot here. Oh, you're always in the middle, Ray. Oh, you're all muted. Let me just unmute you. Here you go.
I'm always in the middle. That's good enough for me. That's fine.
See, we've got a couple of people that have shown up. Hello, that's Wendy. Now, Wendy came to Holland with me. Wendy is actually known by Elizabeth.
Okay.
And we also met up when she came to Toronto and had a lot of fun buying African wax prints from a distributor nearby. And we have Joanne. Joanne is going to be my plus one on the tour. And yeah, so people, oh, here we go. We've got Mary from Virginia has shown up. Ivana, oh, I don't know where Ivana's from, but welcome. Edith is here, Anita's here, Tad. Oh, I'm glad you like the itinerary as much as I do. I was doing a deep dive on it today, looking at maps and looking at various pictures and things like that. And it just gets so exciting. There's so much of the world to see. And in all my travels, I've missed Indonesia. So I'm so glad these guys, John and Ray, had an opportunity and I jumped on it. So we've got lots of questions. Lots of people have written in and have already sent us some questions. If you have a question, please just add it into the chat. I am just going to put a link in the chat right now for the flyer. If you don't know where the flyer is, there's just a fast link to it right there. Okay, I'm going to just, John's going to be watching the chat and watching those, so I'm just going to put him back in the green room.
I like that.
Feels like you're on Jimmy Fallon or something like that.
Yeah, Jimmy Fallon.
Okay, so the first question that I've got was, here's one from Elizabeth. She's asked, what are the airport codes for Singapore and the airport that we will use to leave? How specific is that?
That's very specific, and it's a good question. Singapore is SIN, so that's Sierra India Nancy, and then we depart home from Denpasar, which is DPS, Delta Peter Sierra. I had to think about that one.
I once worked up north and we had to use that alphabet all the time, and it just used to ring off your tongue. You know, you'd spell things out and people are going, seriously? Why? And it's amazing how I've lost so many of the characters now.
I was very good at it when I was in the Air Force and then in the airline industry. And then sometimes it comes back, and then sometimes I'm like, okay, I have to make that one up again, but get it done. Wow, you got a lot of people from frozen farm fields in Illinois.
Somebody told me the other day that Canada has to shut their back door to stop all that cold air from going south. I thought that was a kind of
goodness.
But if we could shut it, we would.
Yeah. Well, no, we don't want to do that. We like our Canadian friends. What kind of temperatures are we going to have when we're there?
Oh, we've got one of our questions here. How hot will it be? How hot will it be?
It will be the tropics. That's what I'm going to say to everybody. Now, if you're Canadian or North American and you go to Florida in the springtime and the summertime, it's going to be a little warmer than that, and they'll have humidity, lots of humidity. It's very good for your skin, okay? But it will be warm when we are in Indonesia as well as Singapore. So we always suggest to remember to layer, because there's going to be places where you go where the air conditioning is working very well, but when you're walking around, it's going to be warm. And a good thing to know is you'll see a lot of Asians, Singaporeans, and Indonesians using umbrellas to shade themselves from the sun when they're walking. So something to think about. But it will always be comfortable because we have someplace to go to cool off.
Yeah. Well, I remember always having a fan with me too, and realizing, they are not just ornamental. Having a handheld fan is just so works so well, and people get really jealous now when I pull it out and they don't have one.
Agree.
Okay, so one of the first questions are the classes in the brochure, are they included in the tour price?
Yes, they are. The only ones that are not is the optional things that we're offering you to do at the hotels. All of the classes otherwise will are is included, and approximately anywhere between 60 to 30 days prior to departure, we will be sending you information to pre-register for all of the classes that are included.
Okay. And just a follow up to that is people are always asking whether we'll have a project to do on the trip. And yes, Elizabeth was with us in Holland. We were doing English paper piecing. I called it a Roman tile. And we'll just continue to do something like that, something of a hand project that we can just pack in our purse and take it out whenever we need it. And we don't need to worry about a sewing machine.
No, you can do sewing on the bus while you're talking to each other.
Called Sew on the Go.
So on the go. Did you see that? There was 9 inches of snow in South Louisiana.
Wow.
Oh my goodness, Marie. That's got to be a big surprise for you.
Well, that snow is coming and it's just going to miss Toronto and it's going to dump about 30 miles from where we are.
Oh.
Always misses us, and the poor people outside of Toronto get it all the time, and they're going to get about 14 centimeters today.
Don Leslie is asking, does one share a room? That is a good question, Don. A lot of our people have booked double occupancy, and they're sharing with the people that they're traveling with, friends, family, and things like that. But you can also go as a single. You do not have to share. In other words, share a hotel room.
Right. So one of the questions I get all the time is, where did I throw that question down? How is a textile tour different from a cruise? So for me as a participant, I would say the biggest difference is how we move together. In a cruise, we all arrive and we have dinner together, and we have dinner together every night. And on the days that we're at sea, we have an activity that we do together. But basically, the rest of the time, you're on your own. So if you're with your husband or you're with a friend and you go off and you do all these excursions, and then you come back and we meet each other at dinner and we'll go on to the show or something together. We're on a textile tour. We're moving together as a group from place to place. So there's a lot more together time. Yes, there's parts of every day when we go off and have dinner, and you can split off into groups, or you can just spend the time decompressing in your hotel room, or if you've got a particular place that you want to see. There was one day when in Holland, I remember, where one person wanted to go to The Hague instead of the boat tour in Amsterdam. So she could do that. But in general, you move as a group from place to place together. Anything else that you could say, Ray?
Yeah. Personally, I love cruises because your hotel room and everything travels with you. Deluxe motor coach trips, and I have to say that it's a deluxe motor coach trip, is different because it's a lot more intimate. And what I mean by that is what you said, Karen. Intimate is because you're traveling from one point to the next in the same bus with each other. And yes, there are restrooms on board if that needs to be utilized while we're traveling, but also we make sure that we stop about every hour and a half for a break, restroom break, to get something, a snack or anything like that. But It is a unique experience traveling together with a motor coach because you're going on not shore excursions, tours that are included with the tour, and you're traveling together constantly. You do have dinners together. There's a couple of included dinners that we have together as a group, as well as lunch. And then breakfast is always included on your tours. But it is different because a lot of the general motor coach tours out there, you're like in a hotel, a new hotel every night. Ray doesn't do that. Okay. Ray does not like to unpack, and pack so many times. So, a minimum, you're at a hotel 2 nights. And that seems to have made it much more convenient and more enjoyable to do a motor coach trip that way. Because our first motor coach trip, and that was in the United States, going to a 10-day trip to Arizona and going to see the what's that big canyon called, the Grand Canyon, and things like that. And I didn't know any better to make sure, because it was already a tour that was put into place. But we were in a different hotel every night. And I tell you, you're exhausted by the time you're done that. With this trip, you have even downtime where we're staying at a hotel and you can enjoy the resorts, what the resort is offering and things like that. So I'm really looking forward to this trip because it is done with that in mind.
Yeah, I think I'm going to share a couple of the photos of the beautiful hotels that you put us in. So in um, Singapore, we're going to be staying at the Fullerton Hotel. And didn't you say that that was a former mail office?
Yep, former General Post Office and Exchange Chamber of Commerce. And at what time it was a prestigious Singapore club. Now it's a five-star hotel. All the hotels are 5 star. So it is going to be a lot of great service, a lot of things to do, and something to see everywhere and enjoyable.
Okay, I've kind of lost a couple of my days here. Okay, so I've got a picture of the hotel in Jakarta here. Outside of Jakarta, isn't it? What is
Uh,
is that
the
what?
Palantaran is that we're flying into from Singapore. We're flying to Yogyakarta, which is on the main island of Java, where Jakarta is. Yogyakarta is, if I remember my geography right, is a little north, and that is where is the gateway to go see the Borobudur. And we're staying at the Palantaran Heritage Borobudur Hotel. Absolutely stunning. We stayed there last year. We took a group off of a cruise ship for 4 days, and then we stayed to go see the Borobudur and stayed at this hotel. It's like, I don't know, it's like Zen, maybe because the Borobudur is nearby or something like that. But the service was impeccable, food quality unbelievable, and that's one of the places where they offer optional classes to do puppeteering, all kinds of other things, and that's the only place that the classes are not included, that we were talking about earlier. But it's a beautiful place just to enjoy, and also for the downtime. If somebody wants to go do something, they have that all there at the hotel and they arrange it for you.
I'm trying to find the next one. I thought for sure.
Next one would be the Westin Resort Spot in Ubud.
Yeah, I've lost that photo. I apologize, everyone. But
It's on,
it's
it's on a
pretty.
click.
It's pretty. It was just so gorgeous. Um, where did that go? I know I had that a second ago. Hmm. Always annoying when that happens. But anyways, somebody has asked, are spouses and non-sewers welcome?
Absolutely. Because this whole itinerary is about not only textiles, but it gives you the opportunity to see the must things that you must see when you visit Singapore and Java and Bali. So we invite spouses, non-sewers to come on board because you're going to see a wonder of the world, which is the Borobudur, as well as Prambanan Temple in Java. And one of the temples is really nice because you're going to be seeing the temple, because it's so large, the grounds, via golf cart. So we have that. We keep that in mind to make it as comfortable for everybody to do this. But definitely bring your non-sewers along because there's plenty of things for them to see and do while you're doing your classes. And look shopping for textiles.
Rose,
Somebody asked about if there's any crafts visits as well.
okay. I'm just going to take the one from Rosanna first. She said, chat about what we'll be seeing regarding textiles. Are we going to see
Yep.
the manufacturer? Are we going to see the dyeing?
You're going to see in the classes itself, you're going to see the dyeing aspect. You're going to be able to do that as well as doing the stamping, creating your own batik as well, and then doing the whole process of creating that. We are looking at the end, towards the end in Bali, we are going to the street that is well known for all of the textiles, batiks, as well as for other materials for sewing. And we are looking at stopping at a manufacturer, but we are not confirmed on that yet. But there is plenty to do with the textiles because you're going to be creating your own.
So we have one in Jakarta and we have one in Bali, don't we?
One in Yogyakarta, and in Bali, correct. And there's also the person that asked about crafts. Some of the classes that are included are craft, not textile as well. So you have a choice of what you're wanting to do in your classes.
But there's also the day in Bali where we're going to be seeing woodworking and we're going to be seeing the silversmithing. Um,
Absolutely.
Maz,
There's going to be demonstrations of all of
yeah,
that.
yeah. And there'll be craft all over. Every time we go into a market, there's going to be craft all around us.
Okay.
Let's just see here. Just go back to these questions. Okay, where do we meet up?
We meet up in Singapore. And that's a very good question, Karen, because we've had people asking if they have to fly to Toronto to fly with you to Indonesia or to Singapore. It's not required. What will happen is we will advise you or we can arrange the flights for you. And it'll be from your nearest airport, from your home of record to Singapore. And then when we go home, it'll be from Bali, Denpasar, Bali, back to your home of record.
I know
And
we're going
we arrive in Singapore where there's nothing to do. So remember that when we arrive on the first day, because you're going to have jet lag because you're going, was it in the future, in time forward? Not 1, but 2 days, depending on where you live.
but Singapore is a beautiful place. I mean,
Oh,
we're talking about Indonesia and we're talking about Java and Bali, but Singapore is a spectacular place to visit. Not just the architecture, but the innovations, the cleanliness, um, the merging of a number of different cultures there, and we get to have a lot of fun there the first couple of days. Be a little less
absolutely.
culture shock too. We've already talked
Yeah,
about
it's going to be less of a culture shock. That's a good point.
we've talked
It
about
is, yeah.
now.
The
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
We've already talked about the hotels, and we've got. Do we have downtime on the trip other than the times that we're on the coaches? I think we have downtime pretty well every single day.
Yeah, in the afternoons, especially when there's classes being done in the afternoons, there's a class, then the morning will be downtime. If it's in the morning, then the afternoon is going to be downtime. And that downtime, you can do whatever you'd like. And again, some of the places that we're staying at, starting in Singapore, there is so much to see and do, and at the hotels as well.
Is it a direct flight from Singapore from Toronto? It is, if depending on the airline.
Right. And it depends on how much one would like to spend on their airline ticket. That's another thing. That's one of the things that it's subject to. Yes, there may be some non-stops, but some of the non-stops may be a little more expensive compared to a one stop. But that's what we're there to show you. Here's what the non-stop is and here's what the connection is, and you choose which one you would like to book. And we do all that for you at no extra cost.
Marie Mayeux has asked, will you be able to get a group discount on business airfare?
Unfortunately, not, because not everybody wants to do business class airfare. There's going to be economy airfare, premium economy, as well as business class. But Marie, go ahead and if you've booked with us, go ahead and let us know that you want us to look at those flights in business class, and we can check out what the prices are.
Okay. Oh, let's talk about gratuities. That's always such a stressful part of traveling. Do I tip? Do I not tip? When do we do it? Who do we do it to?
Okay. So with this trip, your tour director, John, and I will be traveling with you, but we'll be in the background, what we call in the background, as much as we can be, watching to make sure that everything is going the way it's supposed to. But we have a Globus tour director that will be traveling with us the entire trip. Now, that Globus tour director is the one that's going to be responsible for everything, getting us on time and things like that. And some of you that are booked on this trip already, and Karen knows how we are because we're always making sure that things go the way it's supposed to. And if it's not, then the tour director finds out that it needs to be amended here and there. That's what the advantage of having your travel concierge is traveling with you. Your tour director and your bus drivers are included, the gratuities. Where there's meals included, the gratuity is already included. And we'll be there to remind you. Now, the gratuities for the bus driver and the tour director for Globus, that is usually done at the end of the trip. And to make it easier, what we usually do is we'll collect it from everybody and put it in an envelope and then hand it up to these people. Or if you want to hand it to the person personally, you can do that as well. There will be local guides that board the bus when we are starting in Singapore, as well as in the other cities that we're visiting in Indonesia, in Java, and as Bali. And those local guides, your gratuities are not included. Those local guides are happy with $5 per person. Okay, so it's not a lot of money, and we are there to remind you or to suggest to you and assist when it needs to be taken care of. So we want to make it as less stress as possible. Your major tips for your tour director and your bus driver, your main bus driver, is already included. All you're worried about is if you're eating at a restaurant that's not included in the itinerary, local tip there, and a local guide. And again, we're there to remind you. Okay?
So that kind of leads to should they be bringing US cash with them? Will Canadian bills be accepted? Are we supposed to do it in the local currency?
Part of the time, okay, that's a loaded question. So let's take that. Number one, there are ATMs all over the world, and every place that we go to, they have ATMs and they take credit cards. American Express, not as much, but your Visas, MasterCards are accepted everywhere. That being said, if you want local currency, we will always tell you, get it out of the ATM at a local bank when we're at wherever we're at, okay? Do not bring an excessive amount of cash with you. If you want to tip in the local currency, we will let you know what that conversion is when we're there, because the conversions change daily. Besides Singapore, Indonesia, everybody, it is very inexpensive. I'm going to be very brutal. Cheap, 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 cheap. Okay? You can get a meal for $6. So what I'm trying to say to you here is maybe bring $100 US or $100 Canadian, just as an extra that you have with you. Otherwise, you can tip in the local currencies, and probably will advise that. And when you're purchasing things, the only place where they will not there's some questions coming on. That's why I'm addressing you, Karen. If you're purchasing items at a market, 9 out of 10 times they're going to want cash. So before we go to the market, we're going to make sure that you have the opportunity to get cash at the ATM. The hotels will have ATMs where they dispense in local money. If you're purchasing at a store. A lot of the places that we're going to will be major stores, not major stores, but established stores like your silver, your wood carvings, things like that, your batiks that you're going to buy at some of the stores. One of the last things that we do is we go to the jalan, which is named street in Indonesian, where it's only batik and other fabrics that you can buy. They will accept credit cards, and you still negotiate. Not comfortable to do that a lot of times, but you have to negotiate the price. Singapore, once we leave Singapore and we hit Indonesia, you negotiate. If they say $50, you say 30. They say another price, then you go up by $5. Okay? That is what they are used to, and that's what they expect you to do. And you're going to get the best deal that way. And at the stores, you can do that and pay with a credit card. And we will always advise you to pay with a credit card, and do not take the exchange rate there. Tell them that you want the bank to do the exchange rate, because your bank will always give you the better exchange rate. I hope that answers the question.
Okay. Bev has asked, is there a written somewhere where you can get a written agenda of this trip? You can get one off the flyer. I put it in there before. I'm not sure if this will. There's the link to it again.
Yep. There's the whole agenda, the whole itinerary, as Karen said, is in that flyer.
What's the next one? Do I need a travel visa for Singapore?
You do not at the moment need a travel visa for Singapore. You do need a travel visa for Indonesia, and it's costing around $7 for tourist tax for the visa, and Bali $15. As we get closer, we will be advising people, because a lot of the times in the past we have gotten the visas in advance so that we don't have to stand in line on arrival in Yogyakarta to get the visa. So yes, there are visas for Indonesia, and we will advise everybody on how to do it, where to get it, step by step.
I know this might be a loaded one, but do I need any immunizations for Indonesia?
That's a loaded one. There's no immunizations required, but we will always tell you to check with your physician. But right now, there are no immunizations needed to enter and leave both countries.
Okay. I was reading Joanne's mind there. We've already talked about carrying cash. Okay, if somebody has a specialty diet that they need to follow, how is that accommodated?
You let us know, and then we go with the vendor and let the vendor know. And then we always tell our people, when we're on the trip, you remind not only us, because we'll know already, and we'll remind the tour director, but when we're sitting down eating, you always ask, I am the one that's vegetarian or gluten-free or anything like that. But special diets can be accommodated on this. You just let us know. Now, that also, I'm going to segue into water, because I see a whole bunch of questions about, can you drink the water? Even in Singapore, I would drink bottled water. You can use it to brush your teeth, take showers, all of that. We're staying at 5-star hotels, okay? So they do have the proper sanitation and everything in there. But just to be safe, if you're drinking water, I would only drink bottled water. And on the motor coach itself, when we're traveling, we will have plenty of bottled water that we will be distributing to everybody and things like that, making sure that everybody's hydrated, because we are in the tropics. Totally different than the subtropics that everybody is used to in Florida. This is pure tropics. Very good for your skin. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, the equator goes through Singapore, doesn't it?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about mobility issues?
Mobility issues. Great question. Anybody that's traveled with us before, we don't care if you have mobility issues, because we're going to make it easy for you to travel. So if you are having and excuse me, because I know the name in Dutch, but for English, I don't know right now. The rollator, if you're a walker with a rollator, You can bring that with you. You can bring your cane. If you have a scooter, you can bring a scooter if you'd like. Now, there may be some places you're not going to be able to get into if it's like if we're at the temples, the Borobudur, they don't have capabilities. Everything is made of stone. There's some concrete places. We had mobility issues with people that went there the last time. They didn't have to climb the Borobudur because you can climb the Borobudur, and you're going to want to for some people because myth has it, if you stick your hand, there's over 2,000 Buddhas, and they're in cages made of stone and everything. And myth has it, if you can touch the Buddha, you have lifelong luck. Now, if you try to touch it a second time at the same time that you just did it the first time, they say you can't. And this last time, that happened to me. I touched it, and then I tried to touch it exactly the same way I did it, and all of a sudden I couldn't touch the Buddha. But going back to mobility, not an issue. You can bring all of that. If you're a slow walker, we don't care. Okay, it's about enjoying the trip and seeing what you're going to see, and no mobility should hamper that. So yes, if you have slow walking, you need walkers, you can bring all that with you.
But the flip side of that is if they do want to walk, are there lots of places to walk safely?
Yes, there are plenty of places to walk safely, but I will tell you, no, do not climb the Borobudur because the steps are a little uneven, and it seems like the people were giants back then, okay, because the steps are like almost 2 feet from one step to the next. But if you want to do, yeah, yeah. But you can get right up to the Borobudur and touch it. So that's another thing that they say is good luck.
How about luggage? How much are we allowed to bring? What are the limits?
All right. Now I'm going to tell you the official word. The official word is one piece of luggage on the bus. Now I'm going to tell you, it can be as big as you want, but it has to be one piece of luggage because it goes into the belly of the bus. Okay. Yes, there's dimensions. You're going to see dimensions when you do see the flyer and things like that. But for me and for John, we can tell you it can be bigger and it can weigh a little more than 50 pounds. But we want you to limit it to one piece of luggage. And a carry-on, one piece of carry-on, which doesn't count, ladies, with your purses, or men if you have a special bag that you bring along with you as well.
50 pounds is the limit for airlines too, though, for one bag, is it not?
It depends on which airline. It can be as much as 50 and it can be as much as 70 pounds.
Okay.
So it depends on which airline that you're flying on. And if you when we book your flights, we always book the fare that it includes 2 pieces of luggage if you needed to do 2 pieces of luggage. And those luggage, a lot of the international carriers do 70 pounds. But always keep in the back of your mind, it can't 50 pounds. And if you get the one that's 70 pounds, yay. Okay. But one piece of luggage for the bus. Now, if you happen to have a small little piece, they're not going to say no. But I'm not going to admit that I told you guys this, okay, when we're on the trip.
Oh, well, it's on the internet now. It's in.
Oh, my God, I forgot about it. We're on the internet again. Okay, okay.
Do we have to carry our luggage during transfers?
No, you do not. Everything in this trip, portage is included. Okay, that's where the one piece of luggage comes in, okay? The porters will take your luggage from the bus to the hotel lobby, from the hotel lobby to your room. Now, when we leave the hotel, the porters will pick up your luggage from your room down to the lobby and then load it into the bus. That's all included. Now, if you should happen to have one extra little piece of luggage, take care of the porter, but it's already included.
Okay, that's kind of nice.
Oh, and also just so that you not get surprised about this, on a motor coach trip, when the luggage is being brought down to the lobby and then loaded into the bus, they will always let us know the night before if they want you to leave it right inside your room, right by your door, or outside the door. don't be surprised if that happens, okay? Because that's what they do, and then the porters come by and pick everything up.
Now we've said this, but I don't think we've said it directly. The flights, our flights included. They're not the flight to Singapore and home from Bali is not included, but the two flights from Singapore to Jakarta and from there to Bali, those two are included.
Those are included. That is correct.
Okay, Rosanna has another question. Do we need electrical adapters?
Hotels will have adapters for you to use, as well as there's 110 plugs, that, especially at these hotels that we're staying at. There's usually one or two 110 plugs there. But we always do suggest you to bring one adapter. And John will, for those people that are booked, when we have our Zoom calls, we will discuss all of that into details, give you pictures and everything like that. And then you can purchase those. They're really inexpensive to bring with you. But if you forget or you didn't get it, I didn't tell you this, but hotels have them. Okay.
Another one from Rosanna. She is asking, do we need to pack sewing supplies? So we are going to be doing that sewing on the go project, but we're going to ask you to leave your good scissors at home or pack them in your luggage, because if you put them in your carry-on, they will be taken away by the border police or security. Ask me how I know that. It can be very painful. And from now on, I just bring a cheap little pair of scissors on board. One of the ones that you get in the grab bags and things like that. And that will get me on the plane to wherever, but then you can bring the better ones out of your package. So we're going to be having, as I said before, a sewing on the go project. You can choose to buy your fabrics in Singapore or from one of the markets in Indonesia. But you can bring your thread and bring your favorite thimble and things like that with you. So, and we'll talk about those when we have our meeting together. Now, I know some people are quite interested right at the moment, and I'm going to really encourage you to get in contact with Ray and John right away, because we are 2/3 full already.
That is correct.
And we like Singapore sold, I should say Scandinavia sold out so quickly. You can't get on that trip anymore. But we still have a couple of places left over for Indonesia. So please act quickly so you're not disappointed. Elizabeth has asked, isn't the bigger question is how much luggage do we need for the trip home?
You can bring as much as you want as long as you pay that excess airline baggage luggage fee.
Is it cheaper fly? Like, do we get the cheap prices in Indonesia? Flight home?
Yeah, you hope, right? No, I don't think so. But yeah, you can bring as much as you want back. Just as much, if you go over your 2 pieces of luggage, then you have to pay excess luggage. There was somebody,
Margaret Lewis has asked, do we have to check all luggage? I usually travel with a carry-on.
No, you can bring on a carry-on if you'd like. And that's what I'm saying. If you have that small carry-on, in addition to your 1 piece of luggage, Globus is not going to say anything because they know I will say something. So, but don't come in with 3-4 pieces of luggage, because then there will be baggage fees that will be charged. Okay.
What else? Did we get all the questions, John? I think we have. You've been asking them, and you've been answering them, and I have been answering them. So, any last questions, guys? I think everyone has answered them.
Yeah, looking at it real quick, I don't see anything.
And we've covered the specialty diets.
Can you drink the local water? Did that already. I love this one from Rosanna. My mind is whirring with the details, but talk to my heart about why this trip is so special.
Why is this trip so special, Rosanna? And that is actually one of the wonderful things about these textile tours is you're traveling with a group of people who like to do the same thing that you do. Like friendships start practically immediately because we all like the same thing. We all have this in common. So conversations are easy to start. And Elizabeth will tell you that our textile tour from Holland is still going strong on WhatsApp. And lots of really wonderful memories come because we can coalesce as a group. Now, there's going to be times when we'll split up into two, and I have a person traveling with me. She's in the chat today, Joanne, and we've got Ray and John traveling with us. So you're never ever going to be on your own. Um, you're never going to be on your own for dinner unless you choose to be on your own for a meal, because there's just everybody's looking after each other. Um, and it's really quite a memorable thing. But then we get the added bonus of going to all these textile places too, and having enough time. John and Ray have been with enough textile people to realize that there's no bottom to how much we can enjoy textiles, just no bottom. So they know that we need that time to go touch everything that we possibly can and explore and learn about the history. We haven't made them quilters yet, but we're still working on that.
I'm waiting for Karen to help me.
But it is a really special way to see a part of the world that you might not discover otherwise. And they've really gone above the norm in making sure that we have great accommodation and really, like, these are going to be memories that are just going to be so cherished in these places.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm just so looking forward to it. So this will be it's going to be live on my channel if you ever need to refer back to it. We've tried to put those questions on top, so hopefully you can scan through quickly. If there's just one answer that you want to revisit. We've got Linda Gray here from Down Under. Now, Indonesia is a big place for the Aussies to go visit all the time. You have your vacations. It's the equivalent of our Caribbean, where we go and enjoy the hot weather. So, do we have anybody coming from Australia yet?
John, do we have anybody from Australia yet?
We've had a lot of inquiries from there.
We had a lot of inquiries from Australia.
Well, we've had inquiries. That's for sure.
Linda should be the first one then, because we like Aussies. Because then we can plan our next trip to Australia.
Okay, so Danielle has asked, how do I get the brochure? I'm going to link the flyer one more time. It's in the chat. I'll have it in the notes section of the video, and I'll put it in the very first comment for you to find it. You can also find it on my website. Just follow the links and there'll be a brochure there. There's also a link to ask Ray and John a direct question, and there's also the link for booking. Margaret Lewis has asked, Ray, if there's some activities that we would like to do but are not included, like there's something local, can you help us arrange that?
Absolutely. And Margaret, the hotel that we're staying at when we go to the Borobudur, that's after we take the plane ride from Singapore and to go to Yogyakarta, they specialize in cooking classes, puppeteer type of things, painting classes, and that's the only place in the entire itinerary where the classes aren't included, but you can do cooking there, and it's absolutely fantastic. We actually witnessed it there when we were there the last time. So that is definitely a place we'll remind you if you want to do something, that's the place to do it, because it's very local, very, like I said, very peaceful. It's going to be an awe-inspiring trip.
So that's Indonesian cuisine, and I can tell you Indonesian cuisine is quite yummy. But what if somebody has a more sensitive stomach and they want to have more North American food? Is that available at the hotels?
Absolutely. The food that's served there's actually Western food and then the local Indonesian food. And most of the Indonesian food, just to let you know, guys, they, because they're catering to the tourists, there may be some spices, and Indonesian food is a little different than some of your other exotics, where it's about the heat, how hot it can be, where Indonesian food is about the different spices that they use, so that you taste the different spices and you're not running to get a drink of water or a glass of milk or something like that. And you can always tell people, the wait staff and things, if you do not want it spicy and things like that. So we always encourage you to experience it because it is unique. And I'll tell you a little secret. I'm part Indonesian, so I'm part Dutch and part Indonesian, so I'm quite familiar with the food. Okay.
We've had Misty just join. Misty, we're just at the end right now, but you can catch up when you need to. And as I said, this is going to be on my YouTube channel for you to look at and refer to if you need to. So, Elizabeth, one of the things that we did in Holland was we went to an Indonesian
Yep.
thing that
But I
was one of the
stopped.
lists that we had to do, and Elizabeth is just mentioning how good it was.
Oh, did you see this? Joanne Vandermeer, she says, we can indoctrinate Ray. My husband helps me with the designing now. Wow,
Yeah.
I have to talk to your husband then. Okay.
Well, we did a full court press on our tour operator in Holland, and she did a beautiful thing. So I think we convinced her. Anyways,
Cool.
thank you everyone. Thank you, Ray and John, for your time. I appreciate it. And we are just signing off now. I know none of this had to do anything with the declutter challenge, but I hope you're all recovered from it. And I look forward to seeing you in the weeks ahead. So take care, everyone, and I'll see you next time.